The moment Claire walked up to me with that man, something inside me snapped into place. Not like a realization. More like a puzzle piece clicking into a picture I hadn't even known I was assembling. The man was tall, built like someone who spent too much time at the gym, but it wasn't his appearance that caught my attention. It was his eyes. He looked at me, and there was something there. Something I had never seen before in a stranger's face. It wasn't intimidation, wasn't respect. It was like he was studying me, like he was measuring me. Claire, on the other hand, was acting like this was just another work party. Like we were just another married couple mingling with her colleagues. She smiled, her fingers resting lightly on his arm, and then she said my name, like an afterthought, like I was the background noise in her real life. Nick, this is Adam. We work together. Adam. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he nodded at me, the way he gave me that small, almost imperceptible smirk, it said everything I needed to know. Claire was still talking about some project at work, about how Adam was so good at what he did, but I wasn't listening. My brain was a static-filled TV screen, flipping through months of little details I had ignored. Late nights at the office, the way her phone never left her side, the perfume, the way she started taking extra showers, saying she was stressed from work. Adam reached out his hand. I shook it because that's what you do. And when I did, he squeezed just a little too hard. Like he was establishing something. I should have played along. Should have smiled. Should have nodded. Should have pretended I didn't just see what I saw. But I couldn't. Instead, I laughed. A short, sharp sound. Claire turned her head toward me, surprised. Adam raised an eyebrow. You think this is funny? Claire asked, her voice light but with an edge beneath it. I tilted my head, still looking at Adam. He didn't look away. A little, I said. Claire's fingers tensed around her wine glass. Adam just smiled, slow and lazy, like he was enjoying this. And then I walked away. I didn't storm off, didn't make a scene. I just turned and left, weaving through the party like nothing had happened. I could feel Claire's stare burning into my back, could feel the moment she hesitated, then followed. She caught up to me outside, the cold night air hitting both of us like a slap. What the hell was that? She snapped, grabbing my arm. I turned to her, slowly, let her see my face, let her really look at me. What's going on with you and Adam? I asked, my voice too even, too calm. Claire blinked. Then she scoffed, shaking her head like I was ridiculous. Oh my God, are you serious? I said nothing. Her mouth opened, closed. Then she rolled her eyes. Jesus, Nikki. He's a coworker. A coworker who looks at me like I'm some kind of joke? You're imagining things. That was when I realized she wasn't just lying. She wasn't even trying to lie well. She was brushing me off like I was a child asking too many questions. Something inside me tightened. I took a step closer, and for the first time, Claire took a step back. I want you to say it, I said quietly. Say what? Say you haven't been sleeping with him. Claire didn't answer. She didn't have to. I walked to the bar, gripping the edge of the counter like it was the only thing keeping me standing. My heart was pounding in my ears, drowning out the dull hum of conversation around me. That look, that fucking look. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't insecurity. It was real. And now that I'd seen it, I couldn't unsee it. I turned back toward them. Claire and Adam were still talking, standing too close. She tilted her head when he spoke, laughing at something that wasn't even funny. Her fingers brushed against his arm, lingering. I'd seen her like this before. Flirty, playful. But never with me. Not in a long time. Something was very, very wrong. Another whiskey? The bartender's voice cut through my thoughts. I hadn't even realized I'd finished my drink. I nodded, my grip tightening around the glass as I watched them. Watched her. Then, as if she could feel my eyes burning into her, Claire turned. And for the first time in our entire marriage, she looked guilty. Not surprised. Not confused. Guilty. She recovered fast, smiling as she walked toward me, heels clicking against the floor. Adam didn't follow, but he was watching. Oh yeah, something was going on. Hey, babe, she said, sliding an arm around me like nothing was wrong. You okay? I forced myself to keep my voice steady. Yeah, just needed a drink. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Good. Because I want you to meet some of the other team members. It's important to me that you get to know them. I almost laughed. Important to her? Since when? She never cared about mixing work and home life. But I played along. For now. Because if I was right, if what I suspected was true, then Claire had no idea that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. I let Claire lead me through the crowd, her fingers lightly gripping my wrist, not my hand. Felt like she was guiding me, not holding me, like I was just another accessory to complete the picture she was trying to paint. I didn't say much, just watched, listened. She introduced me to a few coworkers, laughing, smiling, acting like the perfect wife, like nothing was off, but the cracks were showing. Her laugh was too quick. Her eyes darted around too much. And then she slipped. It happened when she introduced me to a woman from her team, a bubbly redhead named Melissa. "Oh my God. Claire talks about you all the time," Melissa gushed. I smiled politely, but my mind was already picking apart her words. "Claire talks about me?" That was interesting, considering she barely talked to me at home anymore. Then Melissa turned to Claire and grinned. "Remember that night after the awards event? We were all so drunk. And you?" Claire tensed. It was so fast most people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. Her fingers dug into my wrist. A silent warning. A plea. Melissa saw it too, because she clamped her mouth shut. Suddenly awkward. "Anyway, yeah, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said quickly, forcing a smile. I didn't even blink. I just looked at Claire, waiting. She felt it. She felt me figuring it out. So she did what she does best. She lied. "Oh, babe. I totally forgot to tell you about that night. It was after an event at work. Nothing crazy. Just a little team bonding. Right, Melissa?" Melissa's laugh was stiff. Forced.
Yeah, totally.
I let Claire pull me away again, but my mind was already running 100 miles an hour. She forgot to tell me? Bullshit. That wasn't a forgotten story. That was a hidden story. And now I had a new question running through my head, cold and sharp like a knife. Who was she hiding it from, me or him? I didn't drink after that. I needed my head clear. Claire was still playing the role of the perfect wife, introducing me to people, acting like everything was fine. But her grip on my wrist was tighter now, like she could feel me slipping out of her control. I let her. I smiled. I nodded. I played the part of the trusting husband. But inside, I was piecing everything together. Melissa's slip-up, Adam's guilty sweat, Claire's perfume, the late nights, the distance. Then came the moment that shattered every last illusion I had. Claire left me for a second to grab another drink. I stayed where I was, pretending to check my phone, pretending not to watch her. She walked straight to him, to Adam, and the way they looked at each other told me everything I needed to know. Her eyes softened, his shoulders relaxed. They leaned in just a little too close. Then her hand slid over his chest, quick, subtle, but I saw it. She traced her fingers along the collar of his shirt, adjusting it like a girlfriend would, like a lover would. And he just stood there, letting her. That was it. That was all I needed. Something inside me went ice cold. I wasn't guessing anymore. Claire wasn't just cheating. She was comfortable with it. Confident. Arrogant. Like she had done this 100 times before, right under my nose. I wasn't angry. Not yet. But I was done playing dumb. So I did the only thing that felt right. I pulled out my phone. And I took a picture. The second I took the picture, my hand steadied. My heartbeat slowed. It was strange. Like my body had switched into some kind of calm before the storm mode. I had proof now. No more guessing. No more paranoia. Just cold, undeniable truth. And the best part? She didn't know I had it. I slipped my phone back into my pocket and turned toward the bar, acting casual. But inside, a storm was brewing. My jaw was clenched so tight it ached. My hands itched to grab Adam by the collar and put him through the nearest table. But no, not yet. Claire still thought she was in control. And I wanted to see just how far she'd push her luck. I didn't have to wait long. A few minutes later, she walked back over, drink in hand, smiling like she hadn't just been touching another man. Like she hadn't just made a complete fool out of me in front of her entire office. "Miss me?" she teased, nudging my arm. I looked at her. really looked at her. And for the first time, I saw her for what she really was. Not my wife. Not my partner. Just a liar in a pretty dress. I forced a smile. Of course. She grinned, completely oblivious. She thought she'd gotten away with it. Thought I was still the same trusting idiot I'd always been. But she had no idea. Because I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to destroy her. I kept my cool. That was the hardest part. Claire was right there, smiling, touching my arm, pretending like she hadn't just been fixing another man's collar like his little housewife. Pretending like she wasn't lying straight to my face every damn day. I could have ended it right then. I could have pulled out my phone, shoved the picture in her face, and watched her perfect little world come crashing down. But that wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel what I felt. Blindsided, exposed, trapped. So I leaned in, brushed a hand over her waist and said, "You know what, babe? Let's go find Adam. I feel like we got off on the wrong foot." Her body stiffened just for a second, a flicker of hesitation. But then she laughed, all fake and bubbly. "Really? That's so sweet of you." Sweet. She thought I was being sweet. I smiled. "Yeah, I just want to get to know the guy you spend so much time with." That did it. A shadow passed over her face, gone just as quickly as it came. But I saw it. She was calculating now, trying to figure out what I knew. Too late, Claire. Way too late. I let her take my hand, let her lead me through the party like she was still in control. Like this wasn't the beginning of her own downfall. And when we reached Adam, I smiled wider, stuck out my hand and said, "So, Adam, how long have you been screwing my wife?" The moment the words left my mouth, it was like time stopped. Adam's face drained of color. He froze, his drink halfway to his mouth, eyes flicking to Claire like a trapped animal. "Claire?" Oh, Claire finally dropped the act. Her fake smile vanished. Her eyes widened for half a second before she forced herself to scoff. "What the hell are you talking about?" She was still trying to lie, still trying to play me like I was some clueless idiot. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because it was so predictable, so pathetic. I pulled out my phone, turned the screen toward them, and there it was. The picture. Claire's delicate little fingers on Adam's chest. Her eyes warm, affectionate, familiar, intimate. Not some innocent work friendship. Not some harmless interaction. Proof. Adam made a choked sound, like he was about to throw up. Claire? She didn't even look at the screen. She just went straight into defense mode. "Oh my God, are you serious?" She snapped, crossing her arms. "You're being insane." I touched his shirt and suddenly I'm cheating? "You're embarrassing yourself." Embarrassing myself. That's what she cared about. Not me. Not our marriage. Her image. Adam, on the other hand? He looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. He was sweating worse than before, his hands shaking as he set his drink down. He wasn't built for this kind of pressure. "Dude, he started, but Claire cut him off fast. "Don't say a word," she hissed at him before turning back to me. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." I smiled, slow and cold. "Am I?" Then I scrolled, because that wasn't the only picture I had. I had more. The second I started scrolling, Claire's face changed. That arrogant. "You're embarrassing yourself. Look." Gone. Because she saw what was coming. Her lips parted just slightly. Her fingers twitched like she wanted to snatch the phone out of my hand. But she didn't. Because if she did that, in front of everyone, it would mean admitting the truth. So she just stood there, watching in horror as I swiped through photo after photo. The first one was the same picture, her hand on Adam's chest, too familiar, too intimate. The next one, Claire leaning in close to whisper something in his ear while his hand rested dangerously low on her waist. The third, the two of them at the bar, standing way too close, her fingers brushing his wrist. And then the final shot, the one that buried her. A photo I hadn't even meant to take. It was blurry, caught in motion, but clear enough to see what mattered. Claire's hand, on Adam's thigh, under the table. Game over. I turned the phone around, letting her and Adam absorb it, letting it sink in, letting Claire watch as the last little scraps of her lies burned to ash. Adam panicked first. "Man, look, I swear, it's not what it looks like." I cut him off with a single look. "Shut the fuck up, Adam." He did. Claire, though, she went in a different direction. She laughed. Not a real laugh. A sharp, bitter, panicked laugh. The laugh of a woman whose world was crashing down around her, who had nothing left but damage control. "Are you serious right now?" she said, shaking her head. "You're stalking me at my own work party? Taking pictures like some jealous psycho?" I raised an eyebrow. Jealous? Of what? Your side piece sweating through his shirt. Adam made some kind of strangled noise, but I didn't even look at him. He didn't matter anymore. Claire did, because now, I wanted to hear her say it. I wanted to hear her admit it. So I took a step closer, lowered my voice and said, "Tell me, Claire, right here, right now, are you cheating on me?" She hesitated, just for a second, just long enough for me to know that she was about to lie to my face. The hesitation was there, a flicker of fear behind her eyes. She knew she was cornered. But Claire was too much of a cold-blooded liar to admit defeat. She lifted her chin, crossed her arms, and spat out the biggest, boldest lie of her life.
No.
"I'm not cheating on you." The party noise around us faded into nothing. I swear, I could hear my own heartbeat.
Esther here.
She stared back, and then I did something that wiped the last trace of confidence off her face. I smiled, a slow, knowing, almost amused smile, because I was done. Done listening. Done playing her game. Done letting her treat me like some blind idiot who would swallow whatever bullshit she threw my way. "That's your answer?" I said, voice calm. She nodded, doubling down. Doubling the fuck down. "Yes, whatever you think you saw, whatever you think you know, you're wrong." And that was when I decided, right then and there, that this woman would never manipulate me again. I let out a small laugh. "All right." Claire blinked, confused. This wasn't the reaction she expected. "All right?" she repeated. I nodded. "Yeah, all right. You're not cheating. Cool." She glanced at Adam, then back at me. She felt it. The shift. The loss of control. She wasn't winning. "So, we're good?" she asked, cautious now. I grinned. Big, bright, dead inside. "Oh, we're great, Claire. In fact, let's get out of here." Her shoulders relaxed. Adam still looked like he was seconds from a nervous breakdown. But Claire? She thought she'd won. She thought I believed her. She had no idea, because I wasn't taking her home. I was taking her straight to hell. Claire walked out of that party with her head high, like she had just pulled off the con of the century. Like she had somehow convinced me that everything I saw, everything I knew, was just my own paranoid fantasy. She had no idea. No idea that the moment we got home, her entire life was about to detonate. The car ride was quiet. She probably thought I was sulking, processing, doing whatever she imagined a guilt-ridden, overly jealous husband would do. I wasn't. I was thinking about the emails I had forwarded to myself from her laptop. I was thinking about the texts I had pulled from her cloud backup. I was thinking about the divorce papers waiting in my office drawer. And most of all, I was thinking about the live stream. See, Claire had humiliated me in front of her whole office. She had smiled in my face while playing house with Adam right under my nose. She had made me the fool. So I returned the favor. I had set up a private group chat earlier that evening. Just a few select people, her parents, my parents, a couple of her closest friends. And now, as we pulled into the driveway, I pressed one button. I started recording. We stepped inside, and she barely waited a second before she started talking. "Babe, listen. I get that tonight was weird, but you really need to understand that." I turned to her, pulled out my phone, and showed her the screen. The texts, the emails, the naked mirror selfies she had sent Adam. Time-stamped right in the middle of all those late nights at work. Her face went pale. I smiled. "Still want to tell me I'm paranoid?" She opened her mouth, probably to spin one last lie, but I didn't let her. "Don't bother. You're done, Claire." And then, just to twist the knife, I held up my phone again. Except this time, I flipped the camera toward her. "Say hi, babe." Her eyes widened as she saw the live stream notification. And that was when the screaming started.